What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Resleevables Exodus edition. And more importantly, we are completing Rath cycle.
This will be a treat for me.
Okay.
I mentioned on many of these episodes, I started playing Magic around Revise, the Dark, and I have a lot of memories of the sets coming out.
Yeah.
What was it like pre-release, day one, week one, whatever? Exodus is the first set that I completely missed. I quit briefly. No one ever quits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Took a hiatus shortly after Stronghold was released. So I've never actually opened up a booster pack of Exodus. Yeah, first set I can say that about.
Okay.
You had to go back to Antiquities or Arabian Nights to find an older set where that's true.
Okay.
And the set was one where when I came back to Magic, it was sort of the midpoint of Urza's Legacy's shelf life. So a game store opened up in my hometown, the only game in town. We'll be talking about that probably a lot in future episodes.
I think we will.
But when I got back into Magic, I spent a lot of time at the only game in town just flipping through the Exodus and Urza Saga binders, trying to see what I missed and try to find cards that were cool.
That sounds fun. I'm Cedric, by the way. He's Patrick. There's going to be like nameplates that come up here in a second. Y'all know who you're looking at here. Did I ever buy it? You know, my brain doesn't work well enough to remember if like I ever bought Exodus packs or my dad bought me Exodus packs or anything. But I will say this. I do know this for sure. I really liked the set symbol, the bridge on the cards, which we're going to talk about more, along with the cards in this set because they printed some doozies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's another set, long history of this in Magic, where there's a bunch of cards that are absolutely cracked and have nothing to do with anything going on in the set.
That's correct.
So we're going to talk about Buyback and Shadow and Lisses and the Spikes. And there's a couple in there that have a tournament resume.
Okay.
But by and large, the most busted cards are just random, I don't even know what.
Just random enchantments.
And that is a consistent pattern in early Magic.
So we, of course, have our Exodus packs for our Crack-A-Pack that we'll be filming after this episode. So that's something to look forward to. More so for you than anybody else because you get to crack one of these.
Yeah, this is new for me. So when I came back to the game during Urza's Legacy, everyone at the shop played Standard. Okay. That was the format.
Okay.
And I had it in my head of, well, Rath cycle is going to be rotating out in 6 months or whatever the case may be. So I'm better served just buying Urza block packs if I'm trying to build up my collection because those cards will still be legal when the next block kicks in.
Yep. Okay.
My friends and I put in a lot of effort to build standard decks that did not involve the Rath cycle cards.
Okay.
Partially because we didn't want to buy them because of rotation and partially because we would have a leg up.
Sure.
When the rotation happened. As it turns out, a lot of the decks at the time that were good included at least Wasteland and probably some other cards as well. So we were, putting on foam gloves a little bit when we first got back into it. But I do have a memory of having a limited budget and saying, you know what, trying to go back and get these Rath cycle cards, that's no good. To the extent I'm going to spend resources on that, I should spend it on cards that are going to be legal for another year and a half.
Smart thinking from a financial standpoint, a little loose on the I want to win game standpoint.
Well,
but that's okay.
If everyone in your group is playing by the same rules,
true,
then it's just fine.
That's true.
Then you can sit around trying to temporal adept each other over and over again instead of playing with hatred.
Different strokes for different folks. Well, you know where we're going from here, of course, which is the facts section of the show. So, to the facts of Exodus, we shall go. All right, everybody, it is now time for the facts of Exodus. But before we get there, Tales of Adventure is who you're going to hear about right now. You can head over to toamagic.com and check out a selection of over 77,000 SKUs in stock, including 80 pieces of the Power 9, every single revised dual land, and singles of all shapes and sizes in every format that Magic has to offer. Every order placed with Tales of Adventure comes with free tracked shipping. UPS next day and 2-day shipping is offered for orders placed before 8 a.m., and Tales of Adventure has completed over 1 million orders lifetime, so you know you'll be in good hands with Michael Caffrey and his staff. If you'll be attending an event that Tales of Adventure will be at, when you're checking out, you can select the event pickup option, so you can simply pick up the cards you've ordered right at the event that you'll be at. You can find a list of events that Tales of Adventure will be attending right on their homepage, toamagic.com. Lastly, when checking out, be sure to use promo code Resleevables to get 5% off your entire order. Tales of Adventure Eternal lives here. Alrighty, partner, let us dive in to Exodus, finish off the Rath cycle, and start unpacking the 14th Magic the Gathering expansion. It was released on June 15th, 1998 in paper. The pre-release was on June 6th, 1998, and Exodus's pre-release card was a non-foil monstrous hound with a pre-release 6/98 stamped in gold foil between the creature type and the set symbol. So,
hell yeah. Another extremely weak card that has nothing to do with anything going on in the set.
Stamp it, send it.
We are on the precipice, though, of the first good pre-release promo, in my opinion. That is coming out in Urza's Saga.
Thran Quarry.
That was right? A JSS promo, I believe.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil too much.
All right.
They take a big step forward in the next set.
Okay.
But this is just rounding out the trilogy of like, why would I want to own this? Does it tell me anything about the set?
No,
nothing.
But it's kind of cool-ish.
It's still cool. Yeah. It's a nice souvenir.
Yeah.
And it's great for showing your friends, you know, oh, there's these events that go on and they give you this little souvenir and there's a date on it. All that's cool.
Yeah.
But you could have given someone, you know, a card that's useful or a creature with shadow or just something.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
But we're getting close to a good one.
Exodus also had a release on Magic Online on December 7th, 2009, with drafts available through April 27th, 2009. It was also available after the release of Exodus on December 7th, 2009 to support Tempest block drafts. And then lastly, a subset of the cards from Exodus were also released in the 2015 Magic Online only Tempest remastered set, but with a modern frame. So those are the various ways that Exodus was released. Now let's talk about who it was designed by. Mike Elliott is your lead, alongside Bill Rose and Mark Rosewater, and it was developed by William Jokic, who's your lead, alongside Mike Elliott, Bill Rose, Mark Rosewater, and Henry Stern. Our art direction is done by Matt Wilson. Now, Exodus has got a decent number of cards, not as big as the base set, of course, because it is an expansion. So you'll find 143 black bordered cards here, 44 rares, 44 uncommons, 55 commons, 55 hot dogs, 55 fries, 55. Never mind. I'm going to always make that joke, even though I don't think you've ever seen that show before.
I have, of course.
Yeah?
Brian's hat. This is the funniest thing ever.
For some reason, I thought that stuff wouldn't be.
He rolled his hat down his arm like Fred Astaire.
All right.
Yeah. I've watched a little bit of it. It's very hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
But the hits are just,
they're insane.
Watch them over and over again.
Yeah. All right. I didn't think you'd be a Tim Robinson fan, but I'm pleasantly surprised.
Hits and misses. And that one is actually something, I wouldn't say miss, but it's not one that I watch a bunch of.
Yeah.
But the Bachelor competition.
Oh, the zip line.
The zip line and Brian's hat are two all-timers.
Okay. All right. Respect. Exodus's expansion symbol. So I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's a bridge meant to symbolize the exit from Rath and the transition from one chapter of the Weatherlight Saga to the next. Okay. Kind of like cool, because when you're a kid, you don't really know that. When you see it, it's just like, what's this bridge doing here? But like, it just kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
You know, even though I didn't know that's what it was actually for.
And there is a certain level of, if you can figure out that it's a bridge, and I would argue it's pretty clear.
Okay.
And you know the plot arc of the first two sets, you can probably deduce what is being communicated.
Sure. Okay.
Tempest is, here's the world. Stronghold is, we're entering the portcullis, the gate, the stronghold expansion symbol is, what would a bridge mean? Well, we're probably either leaving or going somewhere else.
Yeah.
In either event, we're leaving this area, and that makes a lot of sense for a third set of a block.
That's true.
So it's doing a reasonable amount of work here.
Now let's talk about something that Exodus introduced to Magic that is still happening today. Exodus is the first set to use color coding of the expansion symbol to indicate the rarity of the cards. Commons have a black filled expansion symbol, uncommons have a silver filled symbol, and rares have a gold filled symbol. This has never changed, which to me is a little surprising, simply because if you've been with us for previous episodes, sometimes those folks in Wizards of the Coast office, they like to try some things, like when they were doing the stuff with like Arabian Nights and different color boosters, and thinking about maybe trying this, maybe trying that, silver bordered cards, all this other stuff, right? They just said, we're going to do this, and they've stuck with it for, goodness, this set came out in 98 and it's 2014, so a good long while.
There's a question at a top level.
Okay.
Which is, do we want to acknowledge the notion of rarity in this game?
Okay.
Even if we have it, is that something that is going to be player facing? You can make an argument for it being positive to obfuscate. I would argue that the more that you communicate to the player, generally speaking, the better.
Okay.
But once you have the reserve list, now the game is acknowledging rarity.
For sure. Okay.
Because you wouldn't put Lightning Bolt on the reserve list, even though that card's very powerful. You don't care if it gets reprinted from a secondary market perspective, but Volcanic Island, you care very much.
Yep.
So once you sort of cross the Rubicon there, I think you're just better served letting players know when they open their pack what the rare is.
Sure.
And it is a very frustrating part of early Magic of just opening up your booster pack and not knowing what the rare is.
Look, we have this problem when we're doing our crack.
Totally. Yeah. We open up about half the packs we open up. We're like, I don't know what the rare is.
And we know a lot about Magic.
Exactly. And again, we're sort of moving to a point where the internet is a little bit more ubiquitous and a little bit more of a resource, but we're not all the way there yet. And people still have to avail themselves of magazines like Inquest and Scry and just kind of hoping the shop or their friends aren't ripping them off in trades. Bad way to do it.
Yep.
So this is a huge step forward to the extent that Magic has changed this. It's been adding on top of it with the introduction of mythic rares many years down the line. But this same skeleton is still applicable today.
Yeah. And the other thing too, so powerful that you see other games just do the same thing, right? It's just kind of the baseline moving forward for trading card games and collectible card games, which is, you got your expansion symbol and it's colored a certain color to indicate what the heck rarity the card is. So whoever's idea this was, which no clue, great decision, really powerful, nailed it, right?
Long time coming. Yeah. The big step forward, and it makes a lot of sense why you would want to do something like this, and also why Magic, in spite of, as you mentioned, all the tinkering around the edges before this and after this with ways the cards get distributed and what's the nature of packs and what's the nature of blocks, all of that, this has remained untouched.
And I really can't ever see it being touched, if I'm being honest. So on to my next bullet point. Exodus is the first set to have the information at the bottom of the card centered rather than having that information aligned to the left. This change persisted until the card design changed in 8th edition. And it's also the first set with the collector number and the total number of cards in the set printed on the cards. So see, already, they bring in this idea, and then that change persisted until the card design changed, which means that the card design changed, which led to another change, which is where the information on the card is going to be. But still, that common and rarity symbols and the colors, unchanged. So see, they're always changing stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And I imagine a conversation could happen where they're like, should we change, the expansion symbols and what colors they're filled with? And it just has never happened. Like, we go from one bullet point and one topic where it's like, this has been unchanged since they introduced it. And then immediately the next one, it's like, well, they did this and then they changed it later in 8th edition, everything else. So it's always a bunch of moving parts, it seems like, out there.
Yeah. I mean, this is a set with slivers, which when got reintroduced were now just me, not symmetrical.
Yep.
So the set has examples of some load-bearing beams that people were really attached to getting changed over time. This one, though, has stayed the course.
Exodus was sold in 2 ways. There's the normal way, which is, of course, the old booster pack, which contained 1 rare, 3 uncommons, and 11 commons. The packs featured artwork from the card. Come on.
It's some sort of skip. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
This is my gap year. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I forgot.
I'm not that familiar with the set.
I forgot. It's your gap year. I take back my frustration. It's Exalted Dragon.
Okay.
Which, if I asked you what that is, you couldn't tell me.
Well, the thing was, I thought it was a dragon, and I thought it might have been a white dragon.
Okay.
But then I looked at the art, and it's so skeletal that I was confused.
Could be a black dragon.
And then I just didn't have it.
Okay. All right. Exalted Dragon didn't see much play, so you're good. So there's the booster packs. And then, more importantly, there's the 4 pre-constructed theme decks. Here we go. So, because Exodus wasn't a standalone set, the decks contained cards from Tempest, Stronghold, and Exodus. All right. Now, each Exodus theme deck included a booklet containing deck list for all 4 of the set's theme decks and an explanation of how to play them, which is very nice.
I really like the idea of putting all 4 deck lists in there because there's a lot of times where someone's going to walk into the shop and go, I don't really know what I want. Just give me something.
Yep.
Or there's 1 deck left. I'll just buy whatever that is.
Yep.
And giving them something where they can look at the other decks available to them and go, oh, I really want this other deck over here. I'm going to keep my eye out for that.
Yep.
Or, oh, this deck seems like a cool idea. I wonder if I have, with the cards that I own, some way to build something that sort of approximates what this deck is doing. Very subtle thing, but very helpful.
I think it's a really smart call and a really good call because also, people could always just use a little bit of a helping hand.
For sure.
Right. The game's still relatively new. It's starting to continue to swell in popularity. You kind of want to get in. Well, here's a little help. Here's some other decks. And that also gives you the incentive to I don't even know what that card is. Let's see if I can find a way to look it up from other decks.
That's another thing. It gives you information, but no guarantee that you know what the answers are.
Yeah.
So it inspires you to go look. Try to go find a friend who plays and ask them if they know what the cards are.
That's right.
Go to your local shop. Try to meet some people, et cetera, et cetera. All very subtle. Nothing that forces any behavior onto someone, but the information and the sense of exploration that showing all the deck lists have is very good.
I'm super positive on it. So next up, not the decks yet. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. Each deck also had a suggested advanced version with sideboard and strategy. Quote, each of the 4 decks has a basic form using only cards from the Tempest, Stronghold, and Exodus expansions. Each also has an advanced version that's more suited to the intense competition of tournaments. These make use of powerful cards from various in-print sets to make each deck even more effective. I also like this.
It depends.
The devil's in the details.
Details matter.
Yes.
If you're talking about a game with rotation and you're talking about the last set of a block, there is a big danger of someone acquires cards that are only legal for 4 weeks or maybe have already passed.
Yeah.
So you want to be really careful about, going back to Mirage block. Even if you think a card is a good fit, that could lead someone down to a pretty bad path.
Sure.
But here's some things to look for to upgrade that deck. I like it in small doses. I still think you want the person who's buying pre-constructed decks to have a sense of ownership and discovery and telling them, yeah, this deck kind of sucks. And here's what the real deal looks like. Does damage that some amount.
Yeah.
But there's something there. The heart's in the right place here. I don't think you're supposed to go all the way to here's what a completed deck looks like.
Yep.
But here's some cards to consider. Here's something else that might fit. Maybe you want to add 4 wastelands, that sort of thing. You can do a little bit of that.
I like the idea of cards to consider as opposed to here's a concrete good deck. Here's the advanced version if you want to play in tournaments and compete. I like the idea of within the deck, within the precon, there's a little insert cards, additional cards to consider.
And what the problem is with that sort of information is often you want the pre-constructed decks to have a bunch of 1s and 2s and 3-0s.
Yep.
Because you want people to sample random cards in the game. If you and I are playing with these decks, there's more variance inside of our games. If I only have 1 copy of certain cards and so on. And the advice you're going to get here is going to be cut all the bad cards and play 4 copies of the good cards.
Yeah.
Which is really boring and really not fun if you and I are doing our pre-con battle.
I agree. Let us dive into the 4 pre-cons, shall we? We're starting with Groundbreaker. What color do you think this deck is?
Green.
It is black-red.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. You tried.
All right, just assume because of the card Groundbreaker.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Groundbreaker is a classic land destruction deck.
Oh, God.
With added creature removal to take on low mana, fast horde decks. The 3 rares in this deck are Monstrous Hound, Thopter Squadron, and Volrath's Dungeon.
Okay.
The deck list is, of course, on the screen. You will find here, as you mentioned, lots of 3s and 2s and 1s alongside 12 mountain and 12 swamps. But if you'd like to make your deck better...
Real quick, how many copies of Flowstone Flood?
3.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a very precise question to ask.
That's one where you got to be really careful handing that to new players.
Don't worry. We can make your deck better. We have the advanced deck on the screen now. So I want you to remember here real quick that the, so the normal version has 12 mountain, 12 swamp. This version is a Jund deck now for starters.
Okay.
3 mountain, 3 swamp, 1 city of brass, 1 forest, 2 Carpolution forest, 3 quicksand, 3 reflecting pool, 2 sulfur springs, 2 undiscovered paradise, 4 wasteland. We've already gone too far with the competitive version.
No way that's even close to correct.
Yeah. But like, this isn't even close to the normal version.
Right.
We're so far off the reservation now. The spells here, so you still got your 4 Stoned Rain, sure. There's 4 Raineteers, 4 Incinerate, a Hammerable Garden. They cut a Flowstone Flood, so down to 2 of those. 2 Earthquakes, 3 Diabolic Edicts. Again, the previous version had 3 Diabolic Edicts, 3 Flowstone Floods, 3 Rain of Tears. Way to get that 4th one in there. And 4 Stone Rains. But clearly your spells are much better. The creatures here in the basic version are all, they're mostly stink bombs. That won't surprise you. This one, they don't actually get that much better. There's Orcus Settlers, there's an Org, there's a Plague Bearer, there's a couple copies of Utabi Orangutan. And I think most importantly is that the updated version gives you a sideboard where the normal version doesn't.
Okay.
Right? So now they're just like, here's some Perishes, here's some Boils, some Tranquilities. Just a who's who of kick your ass cards.
Yeah, I don't exactly... This is what I was sort of speaking to. The upgraded version is arguably worse.
Okay.
And contains a ton of rares that are about to rotate out.
Sure. There's a lot of rares in here.
A lot of rares.
Yeah, a lot of rares in here.
Yeah, and Mirage Block rares.
It's also true.
Yeah. Rough. Not great.
Let's go on to our second one. White Heat. What color or colors do you think that?
I'm going to guess red-white.
That is correct. Good job by you.
Thank you.
White Heat is a variant on the White Weenie deck, chock full of cheap white creatures, but supported by plenty of red-hot direct damage.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's ridiculous. The 3 rares in this deck are Limited Resources, Paladin on Vec, and Wall of Nets. Only one of those cards should be in White Weenie, but I digress. Let us take a look at the basic deck list.
1 creature that can attack.
4 Saltari Foot Soldier, 2 Master Decoy, 4 Welkin Hawk, 2 Knight of Dawn, a Paladin on Vec, 3 Saltari Visionary, and a Wall of Nets. We've got 4 copies of Kindle. That's good deck building. 2 Shocks, 2 Sonic Burst, a Shackles, 2 Searing Touches, various other spells, 1 Goblin Bombardment, 13 Plains, 9 Mountains. Okay.
I'm not a big fan of giving Paladin and Vec to one deck when one of the other decks is red-black.
The other deck, the red-black deck does have Diabolic Edict, doesn't it?
Oh, never mind. Yeah. Then that's dynamic gameplay.
Right?
Great.
Right? It has 3 Diabolic Edicts, does Groundbreaker. Let's check out, this is actually a fun game I'm going to play with you now. So let's move on to the White Heat Advanced deck.
Okay.
What kind of cards do you think they put in here to make the
all the
better?
2 power shadow creatures in Armageddon?
Okay, so there are 2 Armageddons.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Order of the White Shield, 4 Saltari Foot Soldier, 2 Saltari Priest, 2
Some
White
monks.
Knights. No Saltari Monks, surprisingly. There's 2 Solitary Visionaries, 4 Vigilant Martyrs, better burn spells. We've still got the 4 Kindles, 4 Incinerates, 2 Disenchants, 3 Shocks, 2 Tithes. And the mana base gets some copies of City of Brass, Gemstone Mine, Undiscovered Paradise, and of course, a sideboard with, well, that's a good place to put Wasteland.
The sideboard?
4 in the board. What? Okay. 2 Disenchants, 1 Circle Protection red. You got to give the new player the real experience of what Magic is.
Well, the problem is, I think, the Wasteland issue you pinpoint is the upgraded version for all of these decks should have 4.
Yeah.
That is giving away the game a little bit.
Yes, it is.
So you need to hide some of them in the sideboard. Make it seem like you don't know.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Also, you'll like this card that's in the sideboard. Azur's Weirding.
That is awesome.
Very new player friendly.
Casual, beloved staple. Everyone plays hand up and no one plays a fun card for the rest of the game.
In your white-red deck.
Well, that's why you have all the 5 color lines.
Oh, no, I understand. I understand. That's, again, good deck building. Let's move on to Widowmaker. What color do you think, or colors do you think this deck is?
Green-black.
Close. Blue-black.
Okay.
Widowmaker takes full advantage of powerful card drawing effects while letting you strengthen your forces by discarding what you don't need. The 3 rares of this deck are Mindless Automaton, Null Brooch, and Oath of Scholars.
That is an unbelievably putrid collection of rares for a starter deck.
Lucky you.
Mindless Automaton is, why would I ever want to do this? That's a new player reaction to that card. Why would I ever do this?
Let's start with the mana base, 14 Islands, 11 Swamps.
Okay.
This is the basic version of the deck, of course. 4 Merfolk Looters, 3 Vampire Hounds, 2 Mind Maggots, various one-ofs, and alongside 3 Manta Riders. Then there's a Capsize, 2 Counterspell, 2 Dark Banishing, 2 Dark Ritual, 2 Diabolic Edict, 2 Forbid, 2 Mana Lake, 2 Necrologia, Necrologia, thank you, an Oath of Scholars, and a Treasure Trove, and a Null Brooch. So that's
Null Brooch, Mindless Automaton, whatever.
That's the basic version. So I ask you, as the police drive by, what do you think's in the advanced version?
Oh, I can't even comprehend how bad this is, I'm sure. Well, if you have a discard theme and a blue-black control deck, maybe you turn into a Living Death deck.
Okay.
Maybe you do some sort of hidden horror circling vulture type of thing.
Okay.
Hit me.
There are 3 Living Death.
Okay.
Good job by you. Merfolk Looters, still 4. 4 Merfolk Traders, 4 Mana War.
Yeah, good coming in, good going out.
That's right. 2 Blood Pet, 2 Fallen Angel.
Blood Pet is nice.
A Necrotog, a Spirit of the Night, sure. Let's see, 2 Memory Lapse, super fun. 2 Counterspell, 1 Dark Ritual. They cut one. 1 Sorry. Let's slow it down.
Well, you see Memory Lapse.
Let's slow it down.
Back up. Memory Lapse, very nice with Living Death.
Okay.
Because you counter their creature. Now it's in the graveyard. You lapse it. Very different.
That's true. Now, there are 2 counterspells in the deck.
Of course, because they can't help themselves.
Yeah, because that card's just too good not to play. The mana base here, 8 Island, 7 Swamp, 4 Root Water Depths, 4 Underground River, 2 Undiscovered Paradise. And then the sideboard containing such hits is 2 Hydroblast, 3 Dread of Night, 4 Necrotol.
Good with Living Death.
The 4th Living Death in the board, and 2 copies of Ice Flow.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the Widowmaker advanced deck. And last, but certainly not least, Dominator. What color and or colors do you think this deck is?
White, blue.
Mono blue.
But fantastic.
Dominator is a blue deck of a different stripe. One that sets up victory using plenty of creatures.
Oh.
The 3 rares in this deck are Dominating Licid, Equilibrium, and Erratic Portal. Let's take a look at our final deck here. The Dominator, Farouk's finishing move. The basic deck. For Thalicos Scout. I don't even know what this card is. Mirozel?
That's like some air elemental type of thing.
It's a 4-mana 2/3 flyer. If it's the target of any spell or ability, return it to its owner's hand. That's an uncommon, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
2 Wayward Soul, 2 Killer Whale, 2 Cloud Spirit, and more importantly, the spells. 2 Capsize, 4 Counterspell, 1 Equilibrium, 1 Erratic Portal, 2 Forbid, 3 Mana Leak, 1 Legacy Allure, 2 Mind Games.
Legacy Allure?
Oh, yeah. Give me that. Propaganda, a Time Ebb, a Treasure Trove, and 26 Islands.
There's no Curiosity in this deck?
Not a single one.
Yeah, too big of a risk of fun and on theme.
At least in this version. Let's go to the advanced deck. What do you think we got going on here?
More counterspells.
Pretty good guess.
Curiosity and more 1/1 flyers.
Incorrect. See, because they said that, I want you to remember, I'm going to read this again for you real quick. Dominator is a blue deck of a different stripe, one that sets up for victory using plenty of creatures. So you would think that the advanced deck would stay on theme.
Oh, it cuts all the creatures for counterspells and card drawing.
There you go. So our creatures are 3 Mana War, 2 Sequata Firewalker.
Okay, sure.
I don't remember how you say it. Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. I can't read. Spells, 2 Capsize, 4 Counterspell, 2 Force Spike, 2 Impulse, 1 Legacy Allure, 4 Mana Leak, 4 Memory Lapse, 2 Mind Games, 1 Power Sink, 2 Propaganda, 1 Erratic Portal, 2 Fellwar Stone, and I don't know, Winter Warp sounds good, so there's 4 of those. And then there's 4 Wastelands, 3 Undiscovered Paradise, and 17 Islands. This is the advanced version. For those
Undiscovered Paradise is in all of these?
let me check real quick.
Including the mono blue one?
I was thinking the same thing. So 1, 2, 3. Yep, it's in all 4. Yep.
These are worse, so much worse for giving the advanced deck lists.
My fear was the advanced deck lists would be not great.
Yeah.
And they are not great.
Turning a creature deck into a creatureless deck is so outrageous, even for the time.
It's because you want to compete.
Yeah. And if you play with creatures, you're an idiot.
That's right. Hey, you're the stupidest person I've ever met.
I guess the pro red pinger is fine.
Yeah, I mean, pro red pinger bounce your creature.
Yeah, sure. That's, yeah,
those are fine.
Awful.
I'm trying to figure. Okay, so how does this deck? Okay, so the only thing I'm thinking right now is the advanced version of Dominator. Seems like it's gonna have some trouble actually winning the game.
Legacy's Allure.
Okay, there's
because your dumbass opponent definitely has a creature in there somewhere. Okay. Just take that and kill him with it.
Okay, fair enough. It doesn't have like a Mahamud.
Ping him to death with the Suitas.
Okay. Or any like creature land or anything.
Mana
like
War
that.
beatdowns while you capsize lock them.
I think you might just they might just submit. Like after being Winter Orbed, I'm good.
It's also interesting to me that you would say the advanced list would have Fellwar Stone instead of Sapphire Medallion. Because Fellwar Stone, it's very possible that's correct to play.
Okay.
It's especially weird in the monocolor deck because you're cribbing off your opponent the least often of all of these.
That's extremely true.
You put it in the 3-color deck, it's like, okay, yeah, you're probably going to get some level of mana fixing.
Yeah.
Sapphire Medallion's an in-block rare. Tell them to go get that. It's fun.
It is kind of fun.
Good with Capsize.
Oh, way too good with Capsize. See? Get this guy in the intro decks.
Yeah.
All problems would be solved. Everybody, those are the facts of Exodus. And more importantly, those are the precons of Exodus. Mostly bad, but fun to look at. When we come back from our short break, we're going to go over the lore of Exodus, and we're going to catch up with our old buddy Gerard and how he's mismanaging his team of misfit toys right after this. All right, everybody. We are here for the lore of Exodus, but I think more importantly, the lore of the Rath cycle.
This is the bow on top.
In theory. So, as I mentioned before the break, Gerard, bit of a doofus. If you've been with us for our Tempest and Stronghold episodes, Tangarth is a violent minotaur. Karn has been tortured, being forced to kill goblins. It's been an up and down ride for the crew of the Weatherlight. But now let's see if we can get some closure for everybody. So, when last we joined the crew of the Weatherlight, the ship had emerged from the Death Pits and docked at Volrath's stronghold. They face the daunting prospect of recovering all that Rath has taken from them, the Weatherlight's former captain Sisay and Stark's daughter Takara, their captured companions Tangarth and Karn, and the stolen pieces of the legacy. Gerard, Stark, Miri, and Krovax begin their search of the stronghold while Hannah and the others stay with the ship. So, if you remember, if you were with us in the Tempest and Stronghold episodes, Sisay, we kind of got her back. Stark's daughter, Takara, I think she carved up her dad's eyes with a knife. Pretty mean. Tangarth and Karn, we've already mentioned. Gerard, bit of a doofus. Stark, no eyes. Miri, very loyal cat warrior. Krovax, cursed.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a little update on the characters here. But let's not forget about our old arrogant mage, Airtai. Back at the portal, Airtai strikes a bargain with Lina, the Saltari emissary. The Saltari will help the young wizard open the portal so the Weatherlight can escape. In return, he will hold it open long enough for them, the Saltari, to escape Rath and the half-life they endure there. Lina goes to tell the Weatherlight's crew what is happening. So basically the Saltari are like this, they're like in this weird dimension and need some help like getting back to their normal life instead of this half-life they're enduring.
Yes, and Airtai, for those of you more recent to Magic, is sort of the precursor to the J-style, ha, you thought you were going to do a thing, but I am doing it instead style of blue flavor text.
That's right. That's right. Very, very astute of you.
Yeah, you graduated second in your class, but I graduated first.
Your card's in the graveyard.
Yeah, draw 2 cards.
Yeah. Just as Lina delivers her urgent message, Tangarth, fresh from captivity, returns with the wounded Krovax and Miri and delivers them to the ship's healer below decks. The Minotaur quickly informs Hannah of the search party's new plan to rendezvous with the Weatherlight in Volrath's gardens, then race back to rejoin them. Karn also returns, bearing the lost pieces of the legacy that the Sliver Queen restored to him. Among them is the Sky Shaper, a powerful device that can boost the ship's Thran engine, and is also a card in the set.
Very cool.
There you go.
And that's sort of, a very consistent thing in Stronghold and Tempest is the story beats are actually called out with actual cards.
Yes.
And Airtie appears in the set. Erratic Portal appears in the set. So the story beats are getting hit by individual cards.
The Weatherlight immediately sets sail for the gardens, only to be attacked by the Predator. Bum, bum, bum. It tethers the Weatherlight with harpoon lines, but Hannah uses this against it, swerving into a series of faring turns to smash the larger ship against the Stronghold's supports. Grevenil Vec orders the lines released. The Weatherlight surges forward, free of the lines. However, Grevin dispatches 2 ornithopters to harry the ship. Below decks, Karn busily attempts to fit the skyscraper into the Weatherlight's engine. So the idea of Grevenil Vec, like, all right, let's get this ship. Like, Grevenil Vec's like Man and the Predator. All right, I'm going to get the Weatherlight and blow this thing up, right? Put some harpoons into whatever, so now we're connected. And then Hannah's like, okay, you're an idiot. I'm going to swerve you to a bunch of buildings. And then Grevenil, okay, that was a bad play. Get the harpoons out of here. And his next play is to send some ornithopters. Send some O2 artifacts.
Well, this is a pretty common sort of trope in the space, which we talked about in the Tempest and Stronghold episodes of you have this very, very small ship being chased by this monolithic, much larger military vehicle.
Yeah.
And there's something nice to, okay, well, the smaller ship is just way more elusive. That's how it can get away.
Yep.
But it's nice at some climactic moments to go, no, actually being small is an advantage.
Yeah.
And
sure.
and that's something that's being touched on here.
I just like the idea of my plan didn't work. Ornithopters, get them.
Yeah.
Get them O2s. You go.
No, yeah. You would like to have something a little bit known for a point of power.
Maybe just one. Maybe, okay.
Yeah, you could let's send some vampire bats.
Yeah,
see, just something.
It's a little something better. Outside, resistance to the Evankar has become revolution, and the stronghold itself is under assault. Elves of the Sky Shroud Forest, and the human tribes of the Core, the Vec, and the Dahl alike strike at Volrath's Mog troops and then regroup for a strategic withdrawal. Meanwhile, Gerard, Sisay, Stark, Takara, and Tangarth are making the rendezvous. The Weatherlight has a slight lead over the pursuing predator. Hannah uses a Thran device to bring down one of the ornithopters, but the flaming wreckage crashes into the ship's hull and causes severe damage. The other ornithopter swings close as the ship sails over the gardens. Tangarth quickly scales a tall tree and leaps aboard the ornithopter, hurling the hapless Mog pilot to its death, then drops onto the Weatherlight's deck. What a master.
So the ornithopters I'm getting from this are like smaller ships.
That's my guess.
Okay, yeah, not literal like
Not just O2s for zero.
no.
Yeah.
It's like what happened? Nothing, or they died.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
So my assumption is smaller ships manned by goblins, and Tangarth just apparently climbed up a tree really fast because he's a psycho and was like, I'll take care of this, and killed a goblin.
Easy.
All right. So he's back to his fighting ways. Now Krovax, on the other hand, not doing so great because he's hideously transformed, is half mad from voices calling inside his head. The last of his humanity drains from him. He staggers on deck, followed quietly by a suspicious Miri. He climbs onto the mechanism that controls the ship's sails and begins clawing at it in an attempted sabotage. Miri hurls herself at him. The pair tumble over the side of the ship to the gardens below, fighting even as they fall. So Krovax is, he was a good guy to start. Traitor now that he's possessed.
And Miri remains highly skilled, highly competent.
Highly loyal.
Huge
Miri fan. Gerard, complete moron, emerges from the trees and comes upon the duel between the injured cat warrior and mad noble. He is unable to intervene, however. An enraged Grevin confronts him and a second lethal duel erupts. Faced with the impossible task of both defeating Grevin and helping Miri in time to escape, Gerard breaks away from Grevin and must make a horrible choice. Attempt to help Miri and risk both the legacy and the entire crew's lives, or make for his ship, attempt to escape, and have Miri and Krovax, and leave Miri and Krovax to their shared fate. Agonized by the choice, he returns to the Weatherlight with a furious Grevin in pursuit. So, you know what, Miri and Krovax, you guys are on your own.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Deuces.
Yeah. I know, Miri, you basically saved me at every turn because I'm a moron, but I got to go back to the ship.
Yeah. I would have been dead a half a dozen times over.
Unbelievable.
No, it's very believable.
Yeah, actually, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because that's the thing about people of this archetype being bailed out by their colleagues all the time is all your wins are like, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
What do I need them for?
Yeah.
Who's number one?
This guy.
Yeah.
This guy right
Gerard with just the big old foam finger and just sailing off.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
Leaving his most loyal, fierce, competent, second in command behind.
She'll have to fend
Don't
for
need
herself.
it. Don't need it. Yeah. Don't need it. Or go back and get it later.
Can find a new second.
Could you imagine Miri just like looking up and just
so mad.
Just like, what? Unbelievable.
While being chased by Krovax.
Yeah.
Who's just like, yo, we were tight, like seriously, like a day ago.
Yeah.
And now you're out of your mind trying to kill me. And Gerard's just like, I gotta go.
Yeah. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. That's just how it goes sometimes. Augmented by the Sky Shaper, the Weatherlight outruns her pursuers to the portal, which opens as planned. Both the ship and the Saltari escape, but the planeswalker Urza deactivates the portal in order to prevent pursuit. Airtie is stranded on the wrong side, even as he makes good his crewmates' escape. He falls to the Predator's deck, where Grevin now controls his fate. Urza, too, contemplates his next move. Disaster threatens Dominaria, but will the warning arrive in time? Find out the next episode when we do lore. I mean, story's not bad.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's a bunch of different characters you can get attached to in different things.
Yeah.
And each of the characters lend themselves to different styles of design, different parts of the color pie. This is a place where Magic sort of, in my opinion, struggles early on, is when you're doing something like Limb Duel, let's say.
Okay.
Everything is red and black.
Yeah.
Everything with that name on it.
Yeah.
It's nice for the Weatherlight to be in a place where it's a broadly heroic, good guy structure. But inside of that, you have white legends, green legends, blue, red, and black. And artifacts, even with Karn.
Yep.
So that execution, I think, is really cool because Magic early on is pretty homogenous with how their heroes and villains are portrayed and what parts of the color pie they're latched onto.
Mm-hmm.
And the Weatherlight is a much broader, all the colors are represented, and you can make some heroes that are black and red, which is not something that Magic has a lot of leading up to this point.
I think they did a decent job for their first like actual go at doing story and putting it on the cards and everything, as you folks have just seen, as I've read through that, is also pretty cool. So that's it for the lore. Much shorter than Strongholds and Tempest's lore. Unsurprisingly so in my opinion, because it's the final chapter in the Rath cycle. But we know that, like, you know, we're going to Saga block and other blocks where these characters are going to resurface over time. So if you're into the lore, keep your eyes peeled for that. But where we're headed next are the mechanics. So there's more buyback and shadow to talk about right after this. All right, everybody. It is now time to dive into the mechanics of Exodus. Now, here's the thing. Exodus didn't introduce any new keywords, but it did continue with the block mechanics of buyback and shadow.
Thank goodness.
Yeah,
Need more of this.
That's true. So, buyback, if you didn't join us for the Tempest or Stronghold episode, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, it's a keyword ability that appears on instants and sorceries that provides an optional additional cost that the player casting the spell with buyback may pay as they cast it. If the player does, as the spell finishes resolving, the spell card is put back into its owner's hand rather than into their graveyard. We've got 3 white cards, 1 blue, 1 black, 2 red, and 1 artifact. The white cards are Allay. How do you think? Allay?
Allay.
Allay, okay. Pegasus Stampede and Reaping the Rewards. The blue card is Forbid. We're going to talk about that one. The black card is Slaughter. We're going to talk about that one. The red ones are Flowstone, Flood, and Shattering Pulse. And then the artifact, technically not a card with buyback here in Memory Crystal, but it does reduce buyback. Where to begin?
I think I want to talk about Flowstone Flood first.
All right. Let me get up old Flowstone Flood in front of me, just because I haven't read it for a long time. This one you're very passionate about.
I believe it's one of the worst designs in all of Magic.
Wow. So this costs 3 and a red. Buyback, pay 3 life, discard a card at random, destroy target land. Okay. Go ahead.
So there's some designs out there. The course of Magic's history. I think Umezawa's Jitte is an example.
Okay.
I think Oko, Thief of Crowns, is an example.
Okay.
There's a few others. Skull Clamp, I think, is probably on the list. Where in the light of day, after the card's been released and we played with it for a little while, there's no conclusion to draw other than the designers just didn't know what was going on here.
Okay, sure.
There's a certain innocence to those cards. That is part of what makes them so busted. This, clearly someone knew something was wrong here. Because it's like, buy back, discard a card at random, pay 3 life.
It's a ton.
Yeah, that's a ton.
Yeah,
it's both, we need to make the cost prohibitive.
Yep.
And we need to make it something that is not trivial to do in perpetuity.
Yep.
So discard a card at random, that's pretty intense. And pay 3 life is, well, you can't really do it forever.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this is a design where doing it 6 times when it's good is enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't require the 8th or 9th time. Sure. And then there's the other out of this type of design that bad designers talk themselves into all the time, which is, well, it's just not that good. And then it turns out you're wrong.
Yeah, sure.
Or some amount of the time you're wrong.
Yep.
It's a card that showed up in people's sideboards for exactly the reasons you'd imagine.
Okay.
Because when it's good, you lose. Yeah. I just show it to you and you're dead.
Pew.
Yeah.
Pew,
I'm just going to stone rain you for the remainder of the game. did come up, by the way, in this block with a bunch of lands that make 2 mana. So just a little ahead. You can get a little ahead of schedule. Now, with Ancient Tomb, it's harder to keep it going the whole time. But again, you only need to do it so many times before it's game over.
It's true.
Forbid, probably the more powerful of the two, just because cancel at a baseline is so much stronger than demolish at a baseline.
Okay.
There's at least something of a cat and mouse game that can kind of come up with the card a little bit, because once I know that you have Forbid, I can try to set up a spot where I'm like playing over the top of you, or maybe I can set up, I have a counterspell back, and then if you Forbid with buyback and I counter your Forbid unexpectedly, that's super bad for you because you're down the cards.
Yep.
Those sort of sub games don't come up with Flowstone Flood.
No.
That's just, we're just hitting the button until you decide you've had enough. The problem with Forbid is it's still a pretty miserable experience when it's good.
Yeah.
And it's subsidized at the time by how good card drawing and counter spells are relative to all the other card types in Magic.
Yep.
This was legal and standard at the same time as Memory Lapse, Counterspell, Power Sink, Dismiss, Force Spike. It's like Whispers of the Muse.
Yeah.
It's like, I think Forbid's pretty bad and you are not supposed to do it, but it definitely gets worse for each other busted counterspell that's in the block at the same time.
Yeah.
The other ones are just, I mean, Slaughter's pretty gross and limited. Not much of a constructed player. The other one's pretty innocuous. Shattering Pulses actually showed up a little bit in sideboards here and there.
It's fine.
Don't mind that card at all.
Yep.
It is I believe it is the first power crept shatter, like strictly better shatter.
Okay.
But I don't mind going after all artifact person. And it's not like it's trivial to buy it back. I think it's a pretty solid place to put some points. Forbid is a pretty bad sin, but sort of emblematic of where sensibilities were at the time. Flowstone Flood is, I really can't say enough about it. Someone knew something was up.
When you put that kind of restriction on the card as far as buyback is concerned,
there's no way no one knew that they were doing something they weren't supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we solved it. And it's like, first of all, why is this a problem you're trying to solve?
Sure.
And then two, no, you didn't. Still showed up in sideboards for exactly the reason you would imagine. Someone's just playing their white-red mid-range deck with some good creatures and maybe a 6-mana card that's good. And this card is game over.
Yeah. You don't get to play.
No.
Yeah, you still get to
play. And if you draw the second one, you can still, like, your other Stone Rings still work with it.
Yeah. 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 It's a lot. It's a lot.
One of the worst designs of all time.
Good news. We have more shadow.
Okay.
It's a keyword ability on creatures that serves as both an evasion ability and a blocking restriction. Now, only 6 here, and none of these are busted. It's just kind of more of the same. So white has 1 in Saltari Visionary. Blue has 2 in Thalakkos Drifters and Thalakkos Scout. And then black has 3 in Dothy Cutthroat, Dothy Jackal, and Dothy Warlord.
Sure. At least these are weaker than the samplings that we got in Tempest. And now it plays. I guess you have to keep doing this for whatever reason.
I mean, they didn't do much.
Yeah.
They didn't do much, which I think is for the best. So it's back. I think our consensus opinion, we don't love Shadow.
I very strongly dislike it.
Yeah.
It's just too close to unblockable.
Yeah.
I dislike it more because so many of the good designs are just about attacking anyway. But it's not, I guess it's not the worst thing. It's just the frequency and power level in the block is just too much of both.
The thing I will say I like about Shadow, as far as like it being on theme from a storyline standpoint, it does do that well. And we're in the Shadow world where people can't really get to us, but like the other people in the Shadow world can, so that's why they can be blocked by those folks, but not blocked by the other people. That's kind of cool.
And I really don't mind the occasional, all right, Dauthi Voidwalker, super powerful card, essentially unblockable. Although the spot where you and I each have 1 and then we trade is, there's a little bit of novelty there. The ability is about attacking. but not exclusively so.
Mm-hmm.
But the key thing about why Dauthi Voidwalker, I think, is fine in a format like Modern or Legacy compared to the Shadows here is it's just one. You're not building a Shadow deck.
Sure.
And at the time, both White Weenie and Black Aggro were Shadow decks. And that's where it starts playing really badly.
Well, guess what? There are no listed decks, at least not yet. Listeds are back. There's only 2 of them here. They are cards that have the ability to become aura enchantments, targeting other creatures, representing melding with the host. Blue has dominating listed, and an artifact is transmogrifying listed.
So, in my opinion, 2 is the worst number you can do.
Okay.
The correct number is 0. Just stop. Just let this one go.
Okay.
1 is like, okay, we'll do a rare. Because there's people who like this stuff. And we've already paid the cost of making these inscrutable cards that basically don't work in the rules.
Okay.
2 is like Flowstone Flood territory. Someone knew that something was wrong here, but didn't have the guts to just say, can we get rid of it?
Sure. Or couldn't convince the people necessary to get rid of it.
Right. Yeah. I can buy 1. And if you wanted to do 5, 1 for each color, it's like, I don't think that's a great use of, 3% of the set or whatever. But whatever, we've done it. We're going to this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've built this out. We've paid the cost. 2 is really bad.
It is interesting that they did the 5/5 into like 5 in Tempest, 5 in Stronghold, and then the last set it's like, all right, here.
Designers very often struggle to come to the correct conclusion of cut all of this.
Yeah.
This is what I have been told by other colleagues is my one of my superpowers as a designer.
Okay.
Is if you send me a file and you go, we need to cut 20% of these cards.
Okay.
Files over by 20%. I can get it back to you in like an hour
Sure.
and it will be a good cut of the set will be better after it's done.
Sure.
So I think 2 listeds is an appeal to moderation that I simply don't abide by.
Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
We got more spikes.
Cool.
This
is sweet.
Some moderation here.
This is sweet.
4, but spikes are cards that are green 0/0 creatures. With this enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it, and then you can pay 2 and remove a +1/+1 counter from this to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So black has Spike Cannibal, and then green has Spike Hatcher, Spike Rogue, and the infamous Spike Weaver.
It's awesome, and it shows how much confidence is in here. Because 4 doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's so heavily about one color, that becomes kind of the color's thing. Like in a set of 141 cards, each color is going to get in the ballpark of 25 cards.
Yep.
So you're talking about more than 10% of the green cards being spikes. That's a pretty big bet in the scheme of things, even if it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
When you're talking about it abstractly. These rule. They're awesome. So much fun. Great stuff.
These are the best of the bunch.
For sure.
As far as like a cycle is concerned or whatever, in this set and just in the block, I think like a creature type cycle.
Mm-hmm.
The listeds are a mess. The slivers are all right. But the spikes, I think, are the coolest ones.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Great story, too. It feels like a hive of sorts.
Yeah.
But in a way that's different from the way that slivers feel like a hive.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you.
Cool.
All right. It's time for a short game. We have a few creature types introduced in Exodus. You will probably not do great at guessing what card they are.
I think you're right.
Because you didn't play during this time, but we're going to try. So to our wonderful editor, John, get the old sound effects ready because here we go. Alligator, later changed to crocodile.
Swamp alligator.
You're close-ish. Where do the
Bayou alligator?
where do the blue creatures hang out in this set?
Thalacanos alligator. Just tell me.
All right, root water alligator.
Okay,
I think I could have gotten you there. Frog.
Spore frog?
No. Whip tongue frog.
Okay.
I don't think you'd ever get there. Townsfolk, later changed to human.
No clue.
Treasure hunter.
Okay.
0 for 3. All right, this is the one. This is the one I believe in you. Whale.
Killer whale?
He got one. He got one. Killer whale is correct. That's all 4.
All right, cool.
That's it. Light game this week. Now you said you came back in Legacy, so that means like if there's a game to play in Urza Saga, probably bad at it.
Well, I absorbed a lot more Urza Saga when I came back than Exodus.
Okay.
Because I was on that, all right, Rath cycle. I kind of missed it. I'm not going to spend a lot of money trying to get those cards. They're about to rotate out anyway.
Yeah.
So Saga, hopefully I can do better with.
Okay.
Certainly better than Exodus, I would wager.
1 out of 4. That's about as good as I thought you'd do, so not bad by you. Those are the mechanics of Exodus, everybody. So we're going to take a short break. We come back. We got 3 cycles to go over right after this. All right, everybody. It is cycles time here on the Resleevables Exodus Edition. Before we do begin, however, Brian Colville and your wonderful YouTube channel, we're going to hear all about it right now. Head over to youtube.com/BoschEnroll to watch Eternal Constructed Specialist Brian Colville play a new Eternal deck every single weekday. With over 1,000 videos in his YouTube archive, if there's a certain Eternal card or deck that you want to see in action, Brian has almost certainly played with it, and there will be video for you to watch of it. Best of all, Brian is outrageously good at Magic, as he's a SCG Tour Invitational Champion, a Grand Prix Champion, and an Eternal Weekend Vintage Champion. YouTube.com/BoschEnroll, where Magic history is played every day. All right, let's get after it. 3 cycles to go over. I think 2 of them are really good.
Okay.
I think I'll say. I'm going to start with the one I don't think is particularly good, and Keepers.
Mm-hmm.
These are wizards with abilities that may be activated only when an opponent meets a certain threshold for that resource compared to the creature's controller. There are 5 of them, 1 in each color. There's Keeper of the Light, Keeper of the Mind, Keeper of the Dead, Keeper of the Flame, and Keeper of the Beasts. So I'm going to read Keeper of the Beast as an example for our wonderful folks at home. This thing is, it costs GG. It's a 1/2 summon wizard. You can pay a green and tap it to put a beast token into play. Treat this token as a 2/2 green creature. Play this ability only if target opponent controls more creatures than you.
It's a little onboard tricky. The only thing that I mind about these is them alongside the oaths, which is the same thing of if the opponent is ahead on some axis, I'm catching up on that axis.
Yep.
And just 10 designs in a 141 card set is just too much real estate.
Yeah.
I don't mind these abstractly, but yeah, just 10's too many.
Well, guess what? We're going to go to the oath cycle now. These are enchantments with upkeep effects that work to equalize the listed resource. If the active player meets a certain threshold for that resource when compared to a target opponent, the player may take some action. One of these is better than the others. There's Oath of Lieges, Oath of Scholars, Oath of Ghouls, Oath of Mages, and the soon-to-be award-winning Oath of Druids.
People talk a lot about the cycles in Magic's history. You know, what are the biggest gap between the best cards and the worst cards?
Yeah, this is right up there.
And there's a couple different ways to approach that, and different ways of scaling them give you different answers. Like, what's the biggest gap between 1 and 5? That's one way to do it. What's the biggest gap between 1 and 2?
Okay.
What is the biggest gap between 4 and 5?
Yep.
You can view it through all those lenses. I think that the oaths, the only competition that they have for the 1 and 2 is the cranial plating cycle. And I think it only goes to the cranial plating cycle because Oath of Ghouls was a fringe constructed card. It has shown up from time to time.
Okay.
Whereas none of the others in the cranial plating cycle have shown up in any sort of meaningful fashion. But Oath of Druids is just, compare this to the Oath of Mages, is just, so I get to just put any creature from my deck into play if you played a creature.
Yeah.
Versus, like, sometimes I deal 1 to you.
Sometimes.
Sometimes you deal one to me.
Okay. I'm gonna interject real quick because now you got my brain working.
Yeah.
So the cranial plating cycle.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can name the other 4.
Okay.
So I think the green one is Horned Helm.
Sounds right.
Okay. I'm gonna Google this as I go. This is just made up on the spot while recording. So that's 5th Dawn?
Yeah, these are all 5th Dawn.
Okay, so 5th Dawn, Scryfall. All right. So I think the green one's Horned Helm. I think that's +1/+1 in Trample. Okay, the blue one I think the blue one is Nurok Headset.
I thought it was Nurok Hoverboard.
It's definitely not Hoverboard.
Okay, yeah, it's like flying, right? The
Hoverboard gives flying.
Okay,
I know that, but the Nurok blue one, I can't remember what it is.
I thought it was Shroud. It moves it instant speed.
That feels right.
Not totally sure.
We're gonna look. It's probably between us right now. We're gonna look after we try to guess here. I think the white one's some sort of headdress.
Yeah, maybe I got that confused with the Nurok one.
Yeah, I think it's some sort of headdress. And then, the red one. Okay, the red one, my guess is it's spiked collar.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to scroll down now. All right, green is Horned Helm.
Sick.
+1/+1 trample, move for GG. Healer's Headdress for white. Okay,
nice.
Okay. 2 mana, equip creature gets +0/+2 and has tap, prevent 1 damage. Okay. I really need this right now, actually. There's Cranial Plane. Nobody cares about you. You're way too good.
Yeah, we already know that one.
Okay, so nothing up in the A's or anything like that.
So the red one was probably Volshock something, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Missed it. Okay. We said Nurok something? Nurok Stealth Suit.
Stealth Suit.
Okay, so
that's like a hoverboard. That's close.
You are correct. In chat, equipped creature can't be targeted spells or abilities. All right, so you got that one. And then the red one. Where you at? Okay, it's definitely not Spiked Collar, so it has to be Volshock something. Wait, Sparring Collar.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good by me.
Pretty good.
Equipped creature has First Strike.
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick has made this joke before about don't know your own blood type, but know these random Magic cards, which is extremely true of me. I just got Horned Helm just rattling around in my brain.
Yeah.
For no reason.
So why I bring this up is, the historical example that everyone points to is Ancestral Recall versus Healing Salve.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not Dark Ritual and Lightning Bolt certainly are worse than Ancestral Recall, but those are also cracked.
Yeah.
Giant Growth is totally fine. It holds up today.
Yep.
Healing Salve is way below Wraith.
Yep.
And so is Healing Salve versus Giant Growth the biggest gap between 4 and 5? Maybe.
Okay.
Is Ancestral Recall and Healing Salve the biggest gap between 1 and 5? Quite possibly.
Okay.
Is Ancestral Recall and Dark Ritual the biggest gap between 1 and 2? No way. No. Yeah, Cranial Platings and any of these is the bigger, much bigger gap.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
All right.
Okay.
Digression aside.
And that the Oath cycle fits within this.
Yeah, Oath of Ghouls was a fringe player in competitive constructed.
Okay.
Oath of Druids is basically just banned anywhere you could conceivably play it. And the other 3 are spoiled milk.
Hey,
there you go.
You can play Oath of Druids in Vintage.
Yes.
Yeah. Get yourself an Atraxa. And the game is pretty easy to win from there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over the last cycle here, which is the Retrievers. Each of these 2/2 creatures returns a card of a certain type from your graveyard to your hand when it comes into play. There are 4 from Exodus and 1 from Tempest.
Okay, I'll let me bang this out real quick.
Right, I was going to see if you could do it.
So the 1 from Tempest is Gravedigger.
Correct.
Oromancer, get back an enchantment. Cartographer, get back a... Really? It's not Oromancer? Does it have a different name?
Let me check my notes just to make sure that I'm not screwing you here. I just want to be sure. Okay, yeah, you're wrong.
Okay.
But you can...
Is it get an enchantment back?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Cartographer?
That's the green one.
Scrivener?
That's the blue one.
Anarchist?
That's the red one.
So the white one would get... So if it's not enchantment, would it be artifact?
Correct.
Is it A random shot in the dark. Is it archaeologist?
It's treasure hunter.
Treasure. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Treasure hunter.
The aforementioned treasure hunter.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this cycle is actually pretty cool, pretty straightforward. Just, creatures that get back a certain thing within their color, which makes the most sense, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Good cycle.
Yeah.
Like a healthy, just like not constructed, playable, but totally fine, like limited. And just, there are people who will be like non-competitive fans of the game that are like, I don't know, I like Cartographer, I like Scrivener. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think the worst design in the 5 by a lot is Gravedigger, just because you run into looping issues.
Yep.
And the other 4 obviously don't do that because they're not interacting with creatures.
Yeah, that's okay. So everybody, those are the cycles of Exodus. Easy breezy. Oath of Druids, best card mentioned there. And as I mentioned earlier, going to be an award winner in the show a little bit later. But before we get to our awards, we have quite a bit of trivia to bring to you right after this. All right, everybody. We are back for the trivia section of the Resleevables Exodus edition. And we're going to start things off with some reprints, 5 of them to be exact, all from Portal. We have Angelic Blessing, Charging Paladin, Raging Goblin, Theft of Dreams, and my favorite of the bunch, Wood Elves.
Something they bring up a lot in game design is the idea of frequency matters.
Okay.
People talk about, you should never do this thing, whatever it is.
Okay.
And it's like, do you mean never, like never? Or never, like one time in 10,000, and it's not very good?
Okay.
Now, I could buy, for an example, an example of never, ante. We don't want the game to be about that. Even if there's one card out there and it's really weak, it makes the experience worse by having it exist.
Okay.
But in terms of the 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million, those examples are like kind of hard to quantify or whatever.
Yeah.
But the example that I bring up when I'm debating this or talking about it with someone is, do you know in Rath Cycle Limited, you can kill on the first turn? Let me walk you through it.
Hang on.
Okay. Let's see if you can get it.
This is all 3 sets?
All 3 sets.
Okay. This is Mountain, Raging Goblin, Dark Ritual, Hatred, Mox Diamond, any other land.
And you can replace Mox Diamond, any other land, with Lotus Petal.
Nice.
And Mountain can also be Swamp. It works either way.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a turn 1 kill in limited. If you ask someone, should you kill someone in turn 1 in limited? I hope most designers would say, no, that's not a good thing.
Yep.
But would that be an argument for getting rid of Raging Goblin or Hatred? Or no, of course. No. It's just this will never happen.
Yeah.
So even if it's 1 in a, I don't even know. It's so rare that
1 in a lot.
We don't even care about it. Same thing in Kaladesh, the masterpieces with Soul Ring or whatever.
Sure.
You could argue whether or not you're supposed to do that, but it's like, all right, so someone has to get it and then have it in their opening hand, and then it has a draw that we're talking about such low odds that it's not really worth arguing about whether or not we're supposed to do Soul Ring as a masterpiece with an eye towards limited play. It just doesn't happen enough. Yep. But this is the ultimate example of this, in my opinion, is, there's a turn 1 kill in limited, but you don't know about it because it never happens.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it from that angle.
Yeah, I agree.
If someone argued we need to cut Raging Goblin because it makes a turn 1 kill in limited possible.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah. But if someone put an anti-card in the file, you would say, no.
Yeah.
No, there's no acceptable rate of this.
Okay.
So that's just there's a difference between 1 in a billion and never.
Yeah.
And that to me is sort of demonstrates where the line is.
Let's talk about some banned and restricted cards, shall we? Oath of Druids, banned in Legacy. And I'm pretty comfortable saying never going to be unbanned in Legacy. Or maybe 1 in a bazillion.
So first of all, if you want to cheat something big into play, there's no shortage of that.
That's true.
Because Legacy's got a lot of options to do that if that's what you're in the market for.
Reanimator currently, I think, the best deck in Legacy by a pretty strong amount right now.
As the recording of this, it's just by far the best thing. And the other is just having a pall over the format of, I have a Llanowar Elf in my hand. Am I supposed to play it on the first turn?
Yeah, what are you, an idiot?
Is it too, like one of my opponents playing Oath?
Yeah.
It's just like too bad.
Yeah.
It's just too bad.
You thought you could play a Llanowar Elf?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Your next turn better be good because mine's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very powerful card. If you've never had the experience of playing against Oath of Druid in competitive Magic, which I actually, when I played in the Vintage Championships last year, I got to play against it a couple of times. The dredge deck that you lended me is actually pretty good against Oath of Druid.
You have a lot of forces.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I didn't play during the time when people were getting like cognivores and stuff like that. That was
So this is funny you should bring up cognivore. So I am good friends with Justin Gary.
Yeah.
Known in the game design world for Stoneblade Entertainment, ton of projects. He's also the champion of Pro Tour Houston, which he won with Oath of Druids and Extended.
Okay.
The best thing at the time you really get is Cognivore. We've come a long way, obviously, from here's my Mahamodi Jin. and if you happen to, and if there's a chance that if you Oath on turn 2, it's just dead because you just don't even have anything in the graveyard.
The first card. Yeah, sure. Okay.
But there is a part of Justin Gary's tournament report, and this Pro Tour is no open deck list. It's back during that era, where he's playing against Eugene Harvey, of course, dear friend, playing The Rock. And Justin writes in his tournament report of, well, I have basically how he describes it is, well, I'm pretty sure that he's on The Rock.
Okay.
So if I open with Treetop Village instead of another land, he's probably going to play a creature thinking that I'm also playing The Rock. And then I'll play Oath of Druids and beat him. And that's exactly what happened. Justin went turn 1 Treetop Village. Eugene's looking at a hand with a bird. It's like, all right, can I not cast it?
What am I going to
Doesn't even matter. Yeah. It doesn't, I'm priced in, obviously. So Justin beats him, plays an Oath on turn 2, beats him very easily. But in the turn report, Justin talking like, I figured out this is insane play. It's just like, he's going to play a bird and I'm going to catch him completely off guard.
Hook him.
No, it's like, no, he's just going to cast his, you can't live like that. You can't live just not casting your Birds of Paradise in the first turn. Because what is this deck going to do anyway? The rest of his hand's just Spirit Mongers.
Yeah.
You got to try something. You know what I mean?
Nah, man, we'll wait it out.
But yeah, that winning Houston list was Cognivore City.
Nice. Very nice. Let's talk about Survival of the Fittest, which was banned in Legacy in December 2010 and still remains banned in Legacy. I think in large part to some combination of, I would say, Jerry Thompson and Caleb Durward. Yeah,
there was a time where there was something of a, I guess you would kind of call it like a Hollow Vine deck.
Yeah.
That involved, Madness, Root Walls, and Vent Vines, and just whatever. I think Survival of the Fittest is an awesome design. I think that when they printed Fauna Shaman many years ago, I was like, okay, that's the right way to do it. Because you're leaning into something dangerous. And Fauna Shaman wasn't bad. Showed up a little bit.
It's totally fine.
But what does Fauna Shaman solve about the Survival of the Fittest problem?
You can interact with it.
You can interact with it.
Yep.
It's on a turn delay.
Yep.
You can activate it multiple times in a turn.
Also true, yeah.
All those things solves all the problems. Yeah. But it's still a super appealing design that showed up a little bit. I think Survival of the Fittest rules. I think that it got a little bit worse as a puzzle once Squee Goblin to Bob got printed.
Okay.
They didn't overlap in standard at the same time. But honest, quote unquote, honest Survival of the Fittest is, well, you kind of have to be doing something in the graveyard too. Otherwise, you're just spinning your tires.
Yep.
And that's why Survival of the Fittest at the time showed up a lot with Recurring Nightmare. Because then I just have this package of stuff coming in and out. It's super sweet. But once Squee got in the equation, then it's just kind of solved. Like you go get that and then you're just tutoring every turn.
Yeah. And that's a lot to overcome.
Right.
Mind Over Matter was banned in all formats in September 1999. It was later unbanned in Vintage in September 2005, and then unbanned in Legacy in June 2007. Not a card that really sees any play whatsoever. Not sure if it's just because it's so expensive, the tools aren't there. It was clearly before my time. It was good enough to be banned at some point, though.
Yeah, well, if you want to do some sort of combo thing, they made Mind's Desire legal.
Yeah.
And Mind's Desire plays much more cleanly with ponders and brainstorms than Mind Over Matter does.
Mhm.
Mind Over Matter requires a permanent that I want to be untapping and then just some way to pay it off or loop it or whatever. So yeah, just not worth it relative to other options at the same mana cost that just kill your opponent the exact same way, but that play much better with the other blue stuff.
Limited Resources was banned in Commander in June 2008 and remains banned. And then Recurring Nightmare was banned in Commander in February 2008 and also remains banned.
Yeah, so Limited Resources is... I think there's an argument that it would be literally the worst card of any Magic card to make legal in Commander.
Sure.
I think it's probably either that or Caracas is 1 in 1A. Recurring Nightmare, it's the Sensei's Divining Top problem. It would not be this bad if you could just kill it.
Yeah.
The problem is you can't kill it.
Yeah.
And it's super good. A Recurring Nightmare, imagine a black artifact that was Recurring Nightmare, except it was an artifact and entered the battlefield tapped.
Sure.
You could talk me into something, maybe even that's still a little bit too much, but you could talk me into that's a path that wouldn't require that much more to get Recurring Nightmare to be okay.
Yep.
The fact that it's super busted and also I have a disenchant in my hand and I never get to touch this thing.
You can't touch
this.
this.
Really puts it over the top.
So those are our banned and restricted cards in the set. Now here's a random piece of trivia. A rejected image for Keeper of the Mind, which was considered to be sexually inappropriate, was used for Unglued's censorship instead. Good.
Sure.
Great. I'm just going to put this out there now. In today's episode, I'm not looking forward to doing Unglued. I look forward to most episodes on this show. It's fun going over Magic's history. Most of it.
I don't mind. It's a different...
Oh, you'll see.
I would rather go over Unglued than Chronicles.
That's fair.
Not close.
That's fair.
At least Unglued involved human beings having ideas. Maybe those ideas are not good. Largely.
Yep.
Maybe it's not worth whatever. But I can appreciate, human beings took some time to make whatever this is.
That's true.
Chronicles does not meet that line.
No, it doesn't.
It's AI generative.
Yeah.
If a human being couldn't be bothered to make it, a human being shouldn't bother to care about it. So I know that's a pretty low floor, Chronicles, but Unglued, better than that.
And now we get to our notable cards section, everybody. Something that y'all fine folks have noted that you enjoyed. So we'll be doing this for sets moving forward, including today's episode. Now, we have got quite a few notable cards. Don't know how much we'll talk about each one, but let's begin with Cataclysm.
Really sweet design.
Yeah.
I love the incentive of play with different card types. This one, again, maybe it's too intense and it's too much about Armageddon or whatever, but it's a cool card.
Cataclysm, I was a big fan of land destruction as a kid. Tectonic Break was one of my favorite cards of all time. And Cataclysm really kind of scratched that itch for me of just, you can build your deck around this to completely abuse it.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the kind of deck building that I was really into, was with specific cards that looked like this. So I've always been a huge Cataclysm mark, even though I don't think I've ever cast it in a tournament, unfortunately. But I've always loved this card. Limited Resources. The only thing I think of with that is not the Magic card. I think of Marshall Sutcliffe and his podcast.
Yeah.
That's it. I know it's a abandoned commander, probably never coming back. Any stories for you?
Of this card?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I wasn't playing when it came out.
Okay.
And then I didn't want to get it. And then playing any sort of casual or multiplayer format is off the table.
Yeah, sure. Not the most.
Can't come back.
Yeah. Yeah. You're one and done.
Yeah.
Next up, I have Paladin on Vec, which is a card I used to play in the sideboard of Kithkin. It's just, when it's good, it's just not fun. So.
At least it's pretty modest.
It is only a 2/2.
You have time. It's 3 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the protection from color experience is really dodgy.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not necessarily good stuff, but this is at least, one, it's absolutely rancid against the wrong people.
That's true.
As opposed to some of the 2/2s for 2 with pro color where they're still fine at the time, at least, against the wrong people.
Yeah.
And red and black is not the worst thing to say, go put another color in your deck.
Yeah.
The game engine, especially at the time, already really heavily incentivized mono red and mono black.
Mm-hmm.
No shortage of that. It's also in the same block with Curse Scroll. So there's an easy solve, but not one that necessarily works on time.
Yep.
Right. There's a game to be played there.
Yep.
But if you're going to do something like Paladin and back, this is about the safest time to do it.
The last white card here is Soul Warden.
In the running for most beloved Magic designs of all time.
People love this thing.
Yeah. They loved it at the time.
Okay.
This was, at the time, the game was balanced around killing your opponent on turn 2. And people were still into this. So beloved. Great story. Inspired a million designs. I heard through the grapevine, this was years ago.
Okay.
But the most played card at low elo, or maybe across all games of Arena, was Ajani's Pridemate. Because it's a low rarity.
Okay.
And people love it. They just love this stuff.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome design.
We're going on to blue. Curiosity. I've casted my fair share in like the small blue beatdown decks, but other than that, not too much.
I like that this is the card drawing engines in Magic's history at this time are so much just cast the spell at the end of your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Don't play with a window for interaction.
Yeah.
Curiosity has moments of being pretty landslidey, but you usually have to play with some unassuming cards or cards you wouldn't play with otherwise to make it good.
Yep.
And I'm willing to basically give those cards a little bit of a pass if they don't play great all the time, but they inspire you to play cards you otherwise wouldn't play. And the games that aren't about curiosity landslides are typically super fun.
Gotcha. Okay. Equilibrium. A card that I like and have memories of playing in the sideboard of Blue-Green Madness for the Blue-Green Madness mirror.
Yeah, this one sucks.
I think that was maybe Jeff. I don't know who came up with it. I'm going to relate it to Jeff Cunningham because I used to read all his articles about blue-green. But basically, you play an Equilibrium.
You don't just roll out of bed one day with 2 Aether Bursts in your deck.
No, you don't.
It's a Jeff Cunningham line.
That's
that
true.
one has stuck with me.
And you play an Equilibrium, and they have to keep paying for their stuff. And if they're on like a medium draw where they have to like hardcast or Arrogant Worms or something, it's like, okay, this is over.
Or they miss a land drop.
Yeah, it's done.
Done.
Yeah. So that's my Equilibrium memories. Any for you?
Just about the same. I mean, this design's awful.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that's true.
Whenever it shows up, it's for exactly the reason you'd assume.
Forbid is next. This is before my time, so I just know that it was good. Forbidian.
In some ways, the error kind of actually protected this from you.
Okay.
Protected the other player from the experience.
Okay.
Because if your hand's 20 counter spells, it's like you don't really need to buy back your forbid that often.
Sure.
Awful stuff.
Next is Merfolk Looter. Great in Blue-Green Madness, of course, which was my favorite deck when I was a kid.
Awesome design.
And it's still like pretty good now.
I know it's a small thing on this design, but first of all, super fun and appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And second, I think the design is materially more fun as a 1/1 than an 0/2. Like if you look at Jace Finn's Prodigy, for example.
Yeah. Because
sometimes you look at your hand and it's like, what's even the value of looting? It can be kind of a complicated thing for novice players to really understand. And just having the out of like, why don't you just get them for one? Why not just give them a little...
Give them a taste.
Just give them a little taste. It's so good. Really great design.
I'm always in favor of giving people just a little taste. And we've already spoken about mind over matter, so we're going to go to black. Keep it simple. Carnifage.
Too similar to Sarcomancy in the same block, given how rare it was for 2-power 1-drops at the time.
Okay.
I wish there was kind of a different dimension or drawback going on here.
Okay.
But fun, inspired Vampire Lacerator down the line.
That's
and
true.
A bunch of other designs. Carnifage has a lot of descendants down the family tree.
It's got great artwork too.
Yeah. Cool card.
Next, we go to Hatred.
Really good with Dark Ritual and lands that make 2 mana and creatures that are unblockable.
Great analysis. Really good.
Showed up a bunch.
Yeah. It was pretty popular, right?
Yeah.
I know that the Suicide Black, that was the name of the deck back then. That was like a really good, that was like part of the whole base of it.
The first Grand Prix that I was going to go to was Grand Prix Philadelphia in, I think, 99, which was extended.
Okay.
And I was going to play Hatred.
Oh.
I ended up not being able to make it down there for the weekend or whatever.
Okay.
My first Grand Prix ended up being Boston, which was, I think, Invasion Plane Shift limited.
Okay.
But I had the card for this and was going to go down and play.
Okay. And then the other black card is Recurring Nightmare, which we've spoken about.
You know what I tested the most with that black deck, Hatred?
We're back on Hatred.
Against Oath of Druids. The games were not that interesting.
Either your dead or their dead.
Just turn 2, someone can pick up their cards.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
What are you going to do, not test?
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I've played plenty
That's
of
how much
matchups.
I loved Magic back then.
Oh, I know.
I tested Hatred Oath. We never played a game that involved, like, I've got a card and you've got a card, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
No, that's just not the
Do you have it?
Just Oath for Weaver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I have it.
Done. All right. Turn 2. City of Traders, Ritual, Carnifex, you're dead. You have a nice floodplain. Or whatever.
Smell you later.
Smell you later.
Red cards. I'm going to start with Pandemonium.
Cool. Really fun card. I mean, it is
super fun.
It is, obviously kind of combo-y in its best applications, but a really fun design.
I think it's just a super fun card.
Love the idea of it's haste, but not exactly as a red card.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Next up, I'm gonna call this laying out here. I have nothing to say after this. Price of Progress.
A little too intense. It is really fun because Blood Moon back in the day, that was like the budget catch up. Maybe you've been playing for a long time. You got all these duels. You got all this stuff. I'm going to get my hands on some Blood Moons.
Mm-hmm.
We can play a game. But that wasn't always good enough. Because you had Moxes. Maybe you had a basic land or whatever. Just killing money bags outright. The image that I have of Price of Progressing people, the image in my head, is the Monopoly man with his pockets turned out. You know what I mean? Like he's still in the tux.
Yeah.
You still got the trappings of wealth, but your pockets are turned out, bud.
I think we might have a clip here of you casting Price of Progress against someone who was on Jeopardy once. We'll see what happens.
This is probably one of those situations where Patrick's just looking to see, all right, the only way I'm going to win is if my opponent makes a mistake. How can I lead the game into a spot where there's even a mistake for him to make?
Sure.
Maybe he needs to not Price of Progress and count on the Pride Mage hitting the Sulfuric Vortex. I don't know.
Let's see what happens. Flame Rift.
Gutsy. I like that.
Always gutsy.
Patrick Sullivan is nothing if not gutsy.
And he's gonna pass back.
Oh my god, if he taps out to... Oh! Wow! Patrick
Flame Rift Fire.
Oh my god. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
God.
And that's the match. Unbelievable. Ross cannot believe what just happened to him. We're gonna need that. We're gonna need to get the tape on that
put
one.
some steak on
Seriously, you want to learn how to play a red deck? Study that game. Watch that game once a day.
Perfect use of...
Ross is broken.
The last red card, Seismic Assault. A personal favorite of mine.
Yeah. This is one that took a little while to have some context because one, the synergies didn't really exist, and two, casting a triple red card was already pretty prohibitive to play with synergistic stuff in other colors. But over time, with Loam and such, it had a home.
Loam and Cycling Lands. There was an extended deck called Cal, C-A-L, C for Confinement, A for Assault, L for Loam. That did very well and extended for a little while.
Loam's a draw 3, obviously super good with Seismic Assault. Means you can keep Solitary Confinement going. You know,
lock them up.
Lock them up.
That's all you need to do. You just dredge Loam every turn, discard one of those lands to Confinement, and lock them.
But sometimes you can play something of an honest game. Like Seismic Assault and Loam is really good together, but that's not a lock. You can, opponent might be able to play through that to some degree.
And you do need a cycling land to dredge back the loam because, of course, Solitary Confinement makes you skip your draw step. But
and triple red with a bunch of lands that enter the battlefield tab.
Triple red, white, and green.
Right, yeah. No,
Easy.
There's a reason people are fond of that deck because it did a thing, but it wasn't just free to do everything.
Yeah, I agree. Green cards. Mana Bond, quick shout out. For those of you who used to play 43, that was the land deck in Legacy that had Mana Bonds in it, like myself. It was just kind of a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
That's all.
A little too extreme, but fun card.
Yeah, just worse than Exploration, and we'll almost certainly never see playing that deck again. It's outmoded now. Miri Cat Warrior, shout out for just being loyal.
I had one of these in all my decks when I came back.
That's a cool card.
Yeah.
3 mana 2/2. Cat Warrior. First strike, Forest Walk, Vigilance. Just 3 abilities on one card.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Good luck blocking that.
That's
Good luck
true.
attacking through that.
Oath of Druids. We've, you get it.
Sweet. Yeah, they played their bird. They're dead.
Dead now. Spike Weaver.
Awesome design. Showed up in Oath. Showed up in Survival. People just had it in green decks that made a lot of mana. The sort of Gaia's Cradle style, Verdant Forest, Natural Order stuff. You could just play with Spike Weavers.
Yep.
It's not maybe the best place to put a lot of PowerPoints because just fogging a bunch is not that much fun. But relative to what was going on at the time, this is like just a fine thing to have going on.
Survival of the Fittest, we've talked about at length, so I'm going to move on to Woody McElf.
Sweet. Just awesome.
Sweet design.
Awesome.
I really like it. I always have.
Giving green creatures that generate card advantage, and there's some sort of implied ramping, but it cares about the story is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Wood Elves, go get a forest. Cool. I totally understand what's going on there.
Yep.
And then, you can tell yourself it's just card advantage, right? But your 1/1 for 3 is not worth a whole lot. But if you find some other stuff going on, like Natural Order or things that care about elves, whatever, you could just put it in your deck when you literally begin playing Magic.
Yeah.
And same with Elvish Visionary. It's the same thing.
Yep.
Just put it in your deck and it does exactly what it says it does. And that's a fun thing to do. And as you get better, they get better too. You figure out more stuff. It's so cool.
I'm moving on to the artifacts. Got a couple of these here. Coat of Arms.
This was the first card that I really remember when I was working at the card shop that did not show up in constructed.
And people wanted it.
We could not keep it in stock.
That's right. Same thing at my store.
This is just, okay. What's the most fun thing that you can imagine? All right, what if we made it exponentially more fun? Do you think that's a card you want to go get?
Yes.
A lot of people said yes.
Yep. Absolutely they did.
Imagine if your Wood Elf was a 6/6. Can you even imagine that? No. It's 5 mana.
And your Wood Elves help to cast it.
Yeah, it's just look at what I'm doing here. Can you believe it?
I want to see. Okay. This makes me happy. Coat of Arms is still pretty expensive.
And I'm sure it's been reprinted a few times, right?
Yeah. So the Exodus version is it's $22.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. So do I actually.
People want the original Coat of Arms with the cool artwork, with the collection. I assume it's goblins or mogs or whatever that's in the
whatever's
art.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that card's expensive. 7th edition art stinks.
Yeah,
Get
it's
outta
just
here.
so. Why does my Coat of Arms have an artwork with one person on it?
One soldier
Yeah.
or whatever. What are we doing there?
Show me just a sea of phthalids carrying this thing down.
I digress. Erratic Portal. Any stories?
People play with it sometimes. At the end,
Yeah.
not much of a story.
Okay. Then I got 2 cards left, and they actually go together well. So we're gonna do them as a group. Sphere of Resistance.
Yep.
And City of Traitors.
Yep.
We call that the old combo. Sphere is still seeing play in Vintage. It's really about it. I don't know its shelf life outside of that. And then City of Traitors, of course, it's a 2 mana land with a drawback, but you see it in Legacy. You see it in Vintage. I imagine you have to.
Enters the battlefield untapped, and you can tap it twice with no drawback.
Yeah, pretty.
Is come on.
Yeah, pretty.
Come on now.
Sphere of Resistance is no fun unless you're the one casting it. Then it's a lot of fun. Assuming you like games when your opponent can't do anything, which I do. So
It's
those
like,
what?
what's in your hand?
Yeah, why aren't you doing?
Why aren't you
anything?
doing anything?
It's really weird. Blow up your land, by the way.
Transfer.
Yeah. I've never played shops before. Seems like the deck that's just made for me to play because I like to see my opponents having, again, zero fun.
I'll see what I can do. I loaned you Sullivan for the Vintage Champs last year.
I won't let you loan me this.
I have a workshop and a Mox, so I'm way far behind.
No.
But
I won't take that. I will play that deck in a tournament if you go to the tournament and bring the deck to the tournament.
All right.
I will not let you hand me that deck and be like, go fly, go play somewhere. Nope.
Okay, fine. We'll figure it out. I think it's unlikely, but I think you would have the way that I watched you on camera in the Vintage Championships, the way that you strip mine people, which was just strip mine goes from hand to graveyard. And I guess you probably verbally say whatever the land is.
Your land's dead.
I think you'd have a really good time with Sphere of Resistance and Friends.
Resistance.
Yes.
Trivia is all done. So now we're going on to everybody's favorite part of the show. It's the Exodus Award Show right after this. All right, everybody. It's time for your favorite part of the show, our favorite part of the show, everybody's favorite part of the show. It's the Exodus Award Show here on the Resleevables. And we're going to start where we always start with the Oko Thief of Crowns Award for the best card in the set. Patrick, you and I have the same answer.
Oath of Druids.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
banned everywhere.
I was going to say that it's not particularly close, but it is because Survival of the Fittest, Recurring Nightmare, and City of Traders are all really good cards.
The high watermarks of this set are really high.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is close in some ways, but Oath of Druids is just so cracked. If it was legal in Legacy for a month, people would figure out it's just not close.
They don't need a month.
Yeah.
They need a week. Yeah. Put Jerry on the case.
People probably underrate it just because it hasn't been legal in 2 decades anywhere.
Sure. Let's move on to the Carnival of Souls Award for the worst card in the set. We have different answers. You can go first.
Oath of Mages?
Mm-hmm.
Compare it to, let's say, Telemtor's Darts or Onyx Goblet.
Forgot about the darts.
Yeah, this is a 2-mana, or what's the curse from Innistrad that deals 1?
I think, okay, hang on. I'm going to assume it's right here. My guess is Curse of the Pierced Heart.
That sounds right.
Man, I need this one more than the last one. Curse of the Pierced Heart. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Still don't know my blood type.
Yeah, that's the that's a card that I always incorrectly had in my sideboard. I'm like, if I'm on the play, it's just over.
It's very not true.
Right.
Yeah.
But
what if you play a second one?
yeah, I know. It's like, well, yeah, it doesn't get better or worse. It's confusing. I have a soft spot. I can't help myself from, Whirling Vortex, Shrine of Burning Rage, the Curse, just anything where it's like, I'm making it about something else. And I say that as, that kind of player. I never got tricked by Oath of Mages.
Sure.
It's got to at least, the rate doesn't have to be good, but it has to work. It has to do the thing that it says it's going to do.
Which this one doesn't really.
Does not do.
I like that. I'm making it about something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pyrostatic Pillar, or just like all these like 2-mana red enchantments.
Yeah, or like the original Tibalt. I just got like my own thing going on over here. We'll circle back later.
That's why you like that stupid 3-mana Chandra. That
yeah.
That like does a little bit of pinging and some other stuff. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you like that.
This is about something else.
Cool. So they're at 7 and you lost.
Right.
But that's okay.
That's okay.
My bad card is Song of Serenity.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this one.
Not by name.
Give you a little read here. I did some digging tonight before we recorded to find my least favorite card. Song of Serenity is 1 and a green. It's an enchantment, and creatures without any enchantments on them cannot attack or block. Excuse me, creatures with an enchantment on them cannot attack or block.
Yeah. It's supposed to be the other side of Winds of Wrath, I guess.
Okay.
It's the Wrath of God in Tempest that doesn't kill enchanted creatures.
Yeah.
So then you got them locked up.
Both ways.
There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Yeah.
Just this card's uncommon.
Yeah.
Sure it is. Okay. Not sure who that's beaten. But anyway, the Doomblade Award is where we are headed next for the best non-rare in the set. My answer is Forbid. Again, I didn't play during this time, but I've heard many a story about Forbid's power. Yours is not too surprising.
Price of Progress.
That's right.
You're dead.
Suck on that, Ross Merriam.
Yeah.
Ross cannot believe what just happened to him.
Yeah. Take that with you.
Aboro, Palace in the Clouds Award for fun of one of in the set. Your answer?
Spike Weaver.
Yes.
You could have a one of it in your Oath deck. You could have one of in your Survival deck. You could have one of just on rate in your Green Creature deck. Yeah. Sweet stuff.
Now, I will say.
Second copy is typically a lot worse than the first copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I combed over this set list looking for fun of one ofs. Looking for fun. There's like no good answers in here.
Yeah, it's because there's no fun.
And the best cards
are so cracked.
Yeah,
and
they're four. They're four.
You must play
sure.
4 copies because if you draw one, you can't lose.
So my fun of one of is a card that I used a Cunning Wish for in Reclaim.
Yeah, that's a fine answer.
It's the best I could do.
Yeah, I would also I would consider Miri Cat Warrior as a candidate for this one.
That's just
because it's a legend that sucks, so you can only really play one.
Sure,
but it is fun.
It is a nice card.
It is.
It is. Maybe Cartographer. You know what? Maybe Cartographer is a one of because you could Living Wish for it. We need to get a land back. So you get it. So you get this, and then you play that, and then you get this from the graveyard, and you're just going off.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mystic Confluence Award for the best vintage cube card in the set. We have the same answer once again.
Recurring Nightmare.
Yes. Again, I do think it is close. City of Traders is good. Survival of the Fittest is good, depending on what the cube looks like. But I think Recurring Nightmare is the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
I actually don't like Oath and Cube at all, personally. But
yeah, I think that your deck. My feeling is the Oath. If you draft an Oath deck, it usually is unplayable if you don't draw Oath.
Yes.
Whereas your Recurring Nightmare decks are totally fine if you don't draw Recurring Nightmare.
We agree again.
Strider.
Ever heard of it?
I've heard of it.
The Smothering Tithe Award for the best commander card in the set. We have the same answer once again. It is Soul Warden.
And I don't even care if this is wrong. I never care if it's wrong.
Yeah.
But this was like a casual card that is beloved, that does show up a little bit in competitive play, that scales up the more players are at the table.
Yeah, it's number 1 on the EDH Rec search.
Sure, great.
Yeah,
even better.
Yeah. So
but my answer was not informed by that.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Everybody likes this. Just throw one in your deck. Who cares?
Shout out to Coat of Arms, too.
Yeah, very true.
Awesome
very true.
card.
We go to the Pack Rat Award for the best limited card in the set. Your answer, please.
Could be wrong. Maybe there are rares out there that are better, but I'm going to give it to Slaughter.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 5 Terminates on a common is pretty good.
Maybe tough. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I never played this limited format before, of course, but I have fond memories of casting Equilibrium, as mentioned previously, and I have to imagine this is pretty rough.
Yeah.
You know, if you just play like your 6-mana threat and I play like a 2/2 and bounce it, and then you replay it and then I bounce it again, it seems like it's tough for me to lose. So, yeah.
I stand by Slaughter as someone who has never drafted this format.
We're going to move on to the, the newish award, the Circle of Protection Award for the best hoser in the set. My answer is Paladin on Vec, given that it has pro red and pro black. Now, it's no boil or flash fires or conversion, but, it does what it needs to do.
Yeah. My answer, maybe not the Spirit of the Award, but to me, it just stands out so starkly. Which is Price of Progress.
Mm-hmm. For money bags.
Yeah, for money bags over there. Turn your pockets out.
You started playing when the game came out, so you have all the dual lands? Okay, take 10.
Yeah. Go over to the booth and buy yourself a foil. Yeah. Go lick your wounds.
We're going to move on to the Char Rumbler Award for the weirdest card in the set. Do you remember your answer?
I think I gave it to Workhorse, which is not a weird design insofar as it's not complicated to figure out what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But it is weird insofar as, one, what's the point? I guess it's kind of fun maybe with spikes because you have like mana coming from +1/+1 counter. So who knows?
Oh yeah.
It's also like, what is the story here in the set?
We haven't asked that question enough. Just what's the story here?
Like
in the
what?
set? Yeah.
What is up here?
What's the workhorse doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose
team is it on?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not a weird design in terms of complexity, but a weird design in terms of, man, this thing is weird. What is the deal here?
Actually, I'm clicking on workhorse right now. I'm enlarging the picture. Take a look at this picture. There's some goofball wizard.
That's
Who's that?
awesome.
Who is that guy?
And
Am I supposed to know who that is?
so context matters here for my answer here.
Okay.
Because if this card was in antiquities, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd
No.
be like, yeah, sure, whatever. That's what this set's about. This card's like this.
Yeah.
But here, really bizarre.
My answer is the very powerful Rath's Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I know most of you probably won't know this one. I don't really know why it's here. So let's go and read it. I mean, it is on flavor. I'll give it that. It is 2 BB. So 4 mana enchantment. You can pay 5 life to destroy Volrath's Dungeon. Any player may activate this ability, but only during their turn. So there's some restrictions there. And then it says discard a card. Target player puts a card from their hand on top of their library. Activate only as a sorcery.
This card is really not fun either.
What does this do? And why would anyone want to? You play that? I'm at 15. Okay, we're not doing this. Whatever this is supposed to be, we're not doing this. Sorry. So I guess I can only go to 15 on my turn. It's a very weird restriction, but yeah.
Well, if they want to have one window where you can just mind twist, not even just mind twist, but Stunted Earth plow under your.
You just discard your hand, suck it, and it's like, okay, now we both have no cards.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's good in your Cal deck. You loam them. Might be time to get into the lab.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's actually quite smart. Cut the confinements for this.
Right.
Fixed it. Okay. I got myself a blank award for best card name in the set. My answer is Pandemonium, which is a very fun card name, especially given what the card does. Yours, however, I think is a little bit better.
I'm not even sure that's true.
Okay.
There's a lot of good card names in this set.
There are.
I went with Hatred. I want to give an honorary mention to Coat of Arms.
Yep.
Being like pretty sweet. Oh, okay. The code is just whatever the creature type is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of this open-ended creative abstraction.
Recurring Nightmare is an awesome name.
Yep.
Yeah.
Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Hatred, the art helps a lot too. And it's a really powerful image.
Let's move on to the John Avon Award for the best land artwork in the set. Well, there's only one land, so that means our choice is easy. It's going to go to City of Traders. And unfortunately, for those of you who have enjoyed Patrick chiming in on the Arilla's Fury Award for the most overhyped card during previous season and the Tarmogoyf Award for most underhyped card during previous season, this is when Patrick was on a bit of a hiatus.
Yeah. I was busy, president of the debate club, hooping, just maybe even possibly had a girlfriend at the time. Who knows?
Could you imagine? Jeez.
Yeah. So I don't even know. I was completely out of the loop. I will guess Oath of Druids was underrated.
I'm willing to believe that. Doesn't look like on first read that it'd be that good.
Yeah.
And then once you figure it out, you're just like, oh, the game's the same every time.
Yeah.
Right.
It's over.
Yeah. Right. I wonder what card between that and Hatred people were just like, I don't know. Are these good?
Well, no, Hatred was very easy to just.
You think so?
Well, it was. People already played decks with shadow creatures and dark rituals.
Okay.
Not that hard to figure out that could fit in there.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. Like you might, I don't know if it's a thing where people read it on first read and they just go dark rituals kill you on turn 3. And it's like, yeah. Okay.
2. That was my first FNL.
If you have double dark ritual.
This is my return to Magic.
Okay.
Kid at the shop. I mean, I was a kid too, but whatever. And I kind of know the cards that are legal, but not really.
Okay.
And kid at the shop goes turn 1 Carnivage.
Good card.
I go turn 1 Pouncing Jaguar.
Ooh.
Opponent, pays for their Carnivage, plays the City of Traders, attacks me. I was like, my Pouncing Jaguar is so sick. So they're gonna just take a point off of this thing for forever.
Just gonna erase them.
And I was like, yeah, no blocks. And they're like, all right, Dark Ritual Hatred, you're dead. So yeah.
Do you want to go first?
What?
Yeah, you get to go first.
The game 2 was not that different. Because, well, I was able to kind of set up shop a little bit, but then they had a shadow creature kind of did the same thing.
Tough. Really
Yeah.
tough there, yeah.
Yeah, so people figured it out.
Okay.
And that was my F&M return.
With that, we have one thing left to do. Alrighty. It is time to close her down and give a winner and a grade. But before we do, my clothing store, Coalesce Apparel and Design, would like to have a word with you. You can head over to coalesceapparel.shop, the #1 store for Magic the Gathering inspired apparel, to check out their selection of shirts, hoodies, stickers, playmats, and a whole bunch more, including their brand new Devoid collection to celebrate Modern Horizons 3 and Resleevables merchandise meant for the loyalist of Jackal Pups. When checking out, be sure to use gift code Resleevables to get 10% off your entire order. Coalesce Apparel and Design, nobody made what they wanted, so they made it themselves. Patrick, what won the set? What card and why?
I want to give it to Survival of the Fittest.
Okay.
In early Magic's history, there's this thing that happens a lot where, let's take Lion's Eye Diamond as an example. As the card pool expands, there's stuff that comes up to do with it that is really, really busted.
Yep.
But the moment where it gets printed, maybe not so much. It's an expanding card pool sort of a thing.
Okay.
Survival of the Fittest is that, but it's so fun and so aspirational on its own that people built it even when the card pool was fairly limited.
Okay.
It's just it's so much fun, and you can tinker with a Survival of the Fittest deck just forever because every card slot matters.
It's true.
Every time a new set comes out, you're scouring for just, where's the Aven Cloud Chaser or Avalanche Rider in the set? Just a thing that I can be putting in there.
Yep.
And the card's super fun, and also the decks that are built around it are extremely fun when you don't draw it. Because you just have this mismatch of, it's the birthday pot experience, right?
Yeah.
You're just like making do with whatever stuff you have.
Hoping to draw your good card, but in the meantime, I got some bozos.
I'll Exarch your land.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out here,
That's
you know?
right. I got nothing better to do.
Yeah, I got an upset battle. I'll play that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Survival of the Fittest, just a real blast. I know it's not very much related to the set as such.
Mm-hmm.
There is a little bit of a discard theme going on in blue, but I would say it's kind of an outlier. But it's just so awesome, casual and competitive, small card pool and large card pool that I just want to give it a shout out.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Coat of Arms because people just love this thing. And I think that's really cool. But there's a reason I'm giving a shout out to Coat of Arms outside of its coolness factor, which is going to transition me nicely into my grade for the set. I'm going to give Exodus a 3.
Okay.
And here's why. The best cards in this set have nothing to do with the story or the mechanics. So if you think of the best cards in Exodus, you think of, and this can be competitive or non-competitive, Survival of the Fittest, Recurring Nightmare, Oath of Druids, City of Traders, Coat of Arms, maybe in some situations Pandemonium, I don't know. Nothing with buyback, except for, of course, Forbid, which is not fun.
Flowstone Flood.
Also not fun. Nothing with Shadow. They did nothing meaningful with Lycids again. They did better with Spikes, which is good. They did not bring back Slivers for this set. That was kind of just like a one-time set thing. So to me, as I look at this set, and you're a designer, so maybe you can speak towards this, as I'm going to close my laptop now. Feels like they ran out of ideas. Is that possible?
So my grade for Exodus is slightly more forgiving. I give it a 4.
Okay.
But it's slightly higher than you.
Okay.
So It is similar in a lot of respects to Stronghold, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is the mechanics of Wrath Cycle are not good at a baseline. So would you even really want the best cards to have buyback or shadow in the first place?
Okay. Fair point.
In terms of the outliers, the high power level cards that have nothing to do with the set, to me, Mox Diamond is really cheap heat. Like, yeah, no duh. People are going to like a Mox.
Okay.
And we put a drawback on it and we'll just kind of see how it goes. But there's no way people aren't going to love this.
Okay.
I can appreciate a little bit. Survival of the Fittest is like, you know, to go back to some earlier examples, a human being had to think about that to come up with that card.
Yeah.
Mox Diamond, to kind of, you know, circle back to the analogy, Mox Diamond to me is AI generated.
Yeah.
But,
Sure.
Yeah, I could have made that in 30 seconds.
Sure. Okay.
First thing that I do when I wake up in the morning and shuffle onto the bathroom would be to design Mox Diamond. It would take me no effort whatsoever.
Okay.
Survival of the Fittest, Oath of Druids, you know, whatever. There's some cards in there that of the best cards that are something to think about at least.
True.
And there is a pretty wide array of different beloved casual designs. Coat of Arms, Soul Warden, Reclaim is like a popular thing to be doing. Down the list, there's just a Spike Weaver, whatever. There's just a lot of cards that are the rates about right or maybe even weak, but it's tapping into something simple that people love. And it's across rarities and it's across different styles of play and card type. That's worth a lot to me. The fact that, you know, the ideas were really not new. There's nothing there in that sense. I think that critique is right. But what causes me to defend that a little bit is, well, what would that even look like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What is the next crop of buyback and shadow cards?
Yeah. What are we even? We saw Forbidden Flowstone Flood. I'm going to argue that the design space is not that fertile to just be figuring out what the next buyback thing is going to be.
Sure.
And then lastly, I do want to give some, I know this is kind of outside the purview of the card set or whatever. The rarity color symbols in the cards is
a really
massive.
Big deal. That's a big deal.
Huge deal. And that's worth, you know, 1.5 points from my end. But, you know, it's not a great set. It didn't work. It didn't have the best raw materials to work with. And the idea is, I think there's more sparks of creativity here than there were in Stronghold, certainly. But it's still not a whole lot to sink your teeth into.
I think the thing when I'm grading sets, and I know people sometimes in the YouTube comments and stuff are just like, what is your criteria for basing sets or for grading sets? Mostly vibes, first of all. But second of all, I think something a little bit more tangible is how they move forward with like the block mechanics and what it looks like from the first set to the third set. And in this instance, it's like quite poor. Now I agree with you that, like, you know, third attempted buyback. Well, if we have Forbidden Flowstone Flood, and it's like, well, I'm not sure they could actually get this right, but okay. But you know, like future sets are going to have base block mechanics. I'm very curious to see just how they evolve from set 1 to 2 to 3, which off the top of my head right now, I couldn't really tell you like a set that does it well. I'm sure there are some and we'll go through them, but that's going to be a huge point for me in my grading scale. I
would say that my grading scale is much more like a bell curve than a linear thing. That most sets are going, from my perspective, are going to be 4s and 5s and 6s because most sets in the distribution are going to be roughly average because you're just comparing them to one another. And the biggest jumps are going from 9 to 10 and from 2 to 1.
Sure.
Because I can find almost every set has something to be critical of, and almost every set has something to point you to be positive about.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where my grades are kind of going to wash out in that range.
Well, okay then. I'm going to reopen my laptop. I closed a little bit early because the thing is we got to do a shutter down here, and we're going to shutter down first by looking at the scoreboard, where you will see where we kick things off with Alpha Beta Unlimited with a couple of 10s. We moved on to like the Dark and Falling Empires. Things got a little ugly there. Chronicles still are double. Is that the only one still? Yeah. No, you gave another one out actually, in 5th edition. You gave a 1 and I gave a 2 there. And now you see for Rath cycle, Tempest got an 8 from me, a 6 from Patrick, Stronghold a 4 from me, a 3 from Patrick, and then Exodus a 3 for me and a 4 for Patrick. So there you go. Let's give a shout out here to our sponsors and how you can watch the show. So if you're watching this, you're probably watching on youtube.com/theresleevables, where you can find our most recent episodes of the Resleevables, in which we've reviewed Tempest and Stronghold. So you can look at the whole Rath cycle now if you'd like. You can also find our most recent episodes of the Resleevables Tournament Edition. You can find snippets of our Unsleeved podcast, and you can watch our Crack-A-Pack videos in full. And Patrick's going to tell you how you can win one of those packs.
First order of business is head over to patreon.com/resleevables. That's how you can sign up for one of our various Patreon tiers that includes access to the Unsleeved podcast, early access to these videos, and other benefits. At the $10 or $25 tiers, you will be drawn for one of our pack openings. After every set, we open up one of these packs and make a little video out of it. And a second pack is sent out to one of our Patreons at the $10 or $25 tier. You don't have to sign up beyond signing up for the Patreon. You don't need to alert us. You'll be automatically drawn into these random raffles, and you might be the lucky recipient of a booster of Exodus or one of our very valuable Urza packs coming down the pipeline soon.
Yes, indeed, they are. As Patrick did mention, on Patreon, full episodes of the Unsleeved podcast, access to early videos for the Crack-A-Packs and the Resleevables Tournament Edition. And for you Resleevables Tournament Edition fans, you can help vote on the second matchup we play per episode in the Resleevables Tournament Edition, which is a Patreon exclusive. All right, now it's time for us to shout out our sponsors, starting with Tales of Adventure. Eternal lives here, there, everywhere. You can use promo code Resleevables at checkout for 5% off of your order. There's also Coalesce Apparel and Design. No one made what they wanted, so they made it themselves. You can use promo code Resleevables for 10% off your order. And then Brian Colville, that's Bosh and Roll. That's his YouTube channel where he's playing Eternal Magic every single weekday. And on the weekends, he's probably sharking a tournament somewhere because that's a thing he does.
CEDH legend.
I know.
Legacy legend.
I'm kind of loving his CDH tweets. I'll be honest.
Me too. Yeah.
They're pretty good. So what's next? Well, on the Resleevables, I can't admit. Dan, let's see if you have this pack. I found a hole in your game.
Yep. I'm on it.
Portal Second Age, everybody. I don't even know what that could cost.
Part of the reason that I didn't get the packs was that I was not sure we were going to do it. But you are a completionist. And so we will be doing Portal Second Age.
I'm going to give you and the viewers a little scoop about Portal Second Age. This set has something that no other set has.
Okay.
You know what it is?
I can't say that I do.
Guns.
Interesting. Outlaws at Thunder Junction didn't have guns.
What's that?
Outlaws at Thunder Junction didn't have guns.
Apparently not.
Get out of here.
Characters and cards have guns.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. And apparently this ended up being a big deal. So
excited to do this one then.
There you go. Yeah, see, I knew I'd get you on board. So I'm very excited for that. Unglued comes after Portal Second Age, and then we start working ourselves into Saga Block. So for you lore fans out there, spoiler alert, Portal and Unglued, no lore for you there. Resleevables Tournament Edition, we've got some more Pro Tours to cover here in the near future and a World Championship as well. So those will be coming your way soon. But that is it for Exodus, and therefore that is it for the Rath cycle that everyone talks so fondly about. So for this guy, Patrick Sullivan, I am Cedric Phillips. We hope you enjoyed learning all about Exodus, and we will see you back here soon for Portal Second Age. Award show, scoreboard, Dunsky poo. There it is. I'm going to change clothes real quick. Not on camera.
That's behind a paywall.
Yeah. All right, chop it.
And screw it. Take 1 of 1.
Yep. There that is. All right. We're gonna put little what's the word I'm looking for? It's like hints, but it's not hints. And it's not knickknacks. Little fun things to see if people notice in the set behind us, but I can't think of the word because I'm stupid. I was gonna say we're gonna put little. There's a word that I can't think of. There it is.
2 words.
Yep, 2. Yep, there it is. Just came right in firing.